Hey, we're live.
We're live. Happy day. Happy day. Good morning to you.
And good morning to you.
Here it is, the 31st of May. It is the 31st of May, isn't it?
It is the 31st of May.
And yesterday was a big day. Anyway, this is called This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. And I am Theresa Mitchell.
And I'm Ani, and the world does seem a little bit better today.
Yes, it does. So, guilty, guilty, guilty. So I could say another 31 times to be accurate. It feels good. Guilty, guilty, guilty. And it's quite a relief, isn't it? Because we've been waiting for a while for Trump to be held to account for any of his crimes. And he and the Republican Party clearly believe that it is improper to hold him responsible for his crimes. And you can't call them crimes and, hey, look over there. But that has worked outside of a court of law for all these many years. And I'll have something to say about that in just a minute. But it wasn't working yesterday. And it was amazing and a shock, as no doubt you felt as you got the news. But a couple of reasons I can point to. One, that the jury deliberated quickly, was unanimous, and convicted on all 34 counts. And that punched the Republicans like a prize fighter. It really did. And you can see they're still reeling about it. They're just seething about it. I was looking at Daily Beast, Raw Story, and various news aggregators. And you can see Republicans seething all over the place. They're mad. Some of the top Twitter people are saying that it's time for war. And they just don't know what to do, basically. Of course, they're not ready for war. And when they talk like that, they do spin up a couple of their more fanatic, gunned up followers. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if something or somebody gets shot in the next couple of weeks. But that seems to be as much as they can muster so far. Now, the more seriously, I would say, is that the so-called General Flynn, ex-General Flynn, has actually been organizing his followers talking war and is a general. And the other person to watch is Eric Prince, since he has a mercenary army. But even so, none of those are sufficient for actually conducting.
Just for folks that might not be as familiar, I think Flynn is pretty much a known character, but you want to go on about who Eric Prince is to remind our fine viewers if they have not been keeping that scorecard.
Prince is, let's see, that's Betsy DeVos' kid, right? Very rich person, has had a mercenary army for quite some time. It's been used by the U.S. to shoot up people where they don't want to admit that the U.S. is shooting up people. And he's made bank on that and gets around, just swans around Washington, really, and is lionized for that. But he is dangerous because he does control many people with arms and has money to make that happen. He had the formerly called Blackwater, and then it was, what was it called after that? It was
That's
called
what I was
Z at some point. And
I was just scrambling to look that up because I knew that was going to be our next question.
That was deliberately switched around so you'd lose track of what his mercenary army is called, but it's, Prince's mercenary army, so I don't care. But so I want to say that there is no immediate danger of civil war. There is immediate danger of stochastic terrorism. You say stochastic or stochastic?
It's now Academy.
Oh, okay. He calls it Academy.
It's now Academy.
All right. Or if they get cute little uniforms with piping like Academy boys. So that's going down, and we've been pretty happy about it. I put off my partying, but I will party over this, and it's quite a relief. And I think that the Republicans' reaction tells you the impact that it does have. And this is just an over-policed society. We have more people in jail than anybody anywhere. And we also do absolutely crush people who have been run through the system, innocent or guilty. I mean, the system, very obviously, and I have personal experience with this, will find you guilty unless capable of hiring a decent lawyer. You hire a decent lawyer, it really throws, they get mad. They up the charges. Long story.
How dare you fight back?
Yes.
But the point is that I think that we really want to make, and I'll jump in here and make this point because I really want to make it. That is, I am still really adamantly opposed to the carceral state, right?
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah, I really would love to see uh, a, a state that relies on restorative justice, that emphasizes should you commit a crime, i.e., break a social contract, harm society in some way, that you would then do what is necessary to repair the harm. I'm far more interested in repairing harm and bringing people back together than I am for ostracizing and punishing people. I mean, what world do you want to live in? I know the world I want to live in is based on restorative justice, is based on compassion and bringing people back into the fold, repairing what it is that has harmed them in the first place. Why are they committing these crimes? On and on. That's not the world we have right now, though, right? And as much as I want to move forward into that world, since we still live in the carceral state, you better damn be well sure that I want the rich, I want the extremely powerful to be held accountable under the same set of laws. And for it's interesting. It's interesting to hear just the outcry about how the justice system is just stacked against defendants, as if this had never occurred to them before. When they've been, like hang them higher, the party of law and order. That's to me some sort of weird ass irony. Um,
And
you know,
doubly so because he got the rich man kid glove treatment.
absolute. But they didn't apparently heat the courtroom to his liking, and maybe they didn't give him his pillow and blankie and cookies and milk on schedule. I don't know.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Well, to the point, we are a very carceral society, and so we condemn harshly anyone who's been convicted, and we insist that when someone is charged, they must be guilty, and particularly Republicans are, well, let's just say guilty of that. Guilty, that's the word of the day. Makes me think of Pee Wee Herman. Guilty.
That's the word of the day. When you hear it, scream real loud. That'll be fun. Yeah,
Bless
let's
his
do that
soul.
today.
Anyway, so that's where Republicans are at right now. They don't know what to do. They all raised money for Trump, not as much as they thought they could. Not nearly as much as they thought they could. And it was encouraging to see that, the raging crowds that Trump called for directly to be outside his trial never appeared. And the closest he could get was, something on the line of street Elmos. Actually, it would have been better if they'd been street Elmos. They would have looked cute. So while that's happening, it's important to remember that this could be a significant day because Biden has admitted that a couple of weeks ago he gave the okay to shoot American arms, rockets specifically, into Russia. And what this could work out to most immediately is U.S. rockets blowing up the Kerch Bridge in Crimea, which is seen as an illegitimate thing rising from the seizure of Crimea, which Putin did on a slimy basis. Even though we don't like to say that there was a huge percentage of Crimean citizens that wanted annexation. Nonetheless, he did rather seize it, and it's all part of the war now. So what is Putin going to do about that? It's been argued that he will escalate in theater, but that would be unnoticed. And so I think I will predict that Putin will do something somewhat outrageous to push back on that. It concerns me because it's probably one of the last steps that could be made before full NATO versus Russia involvement, which is to say world war. It will be very tempting for Kim Jong-un and Xi to start a war in the East because the U.S. has its attention in sending resources to Ukraine. And I do feel terrible for the people of Ukraine being used as a front line. And, of course, the opponents say that the U.S. is willing to fight to the last Ukrainian. And that's kind of the way it's working out. Nonetheless, there is a solid fact that can't be undone, that is that people have a right to sovereignty, and Russia is bombing and invading Ukraine, and so my sympathy goes to Ukrainians without a doubt. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy is shooting Houthis in Yemen again. This is basically the U.S. shooting at Iran's proxies. That was a questionable statement several months ago until Iran resupplied the Houthis. So now it really is U.S. versus Iran in the Gulf. Excuse me, I'm about to misspeak. Let's just say in the Strait of Hormuz. And Israel is shooting up Gaza and killed another 60 people, and is using their proxies across the U.S. to try to criminalize people for pointing out that it's genocide. Meanwhile, their proxies are in Israel are rumbling about genociding the West Bank. So all that is happening as Trump was convicted. But that's the big news, isn't it? And so I would like to turn to that story and give some backdrop. It's like, how did we get to the point that we could have?
Just one more point of headline.
Yes.
And that is, again, the climate catastrophe is large and in charge. Whatever we think about Trump, whatever we think about the rise of fascism, whatever we think about any of the other headline stories, Mother Nature bats last. And I just want to remind folks that there is an incredible heat wave going on right now that is killing people in South Asia, especially in Delhi, other parts of India, where the temperatures are soaring to above 125 degrees Fahrenheit. And that has been happening for many days now. And we need, again, to center and prioritize climate protection. We need to mitigate the harm we are doing. This needs to be seen and treated as the emergency it is. It's a serious wake-up call. Hundreds of thousands of people have died in the last 20 years because of a disrupted climate, whether through direct results of monsoons and floods, whether it's been heat or drought, or whether it's been famine caused by these things, or landslides caused by these things, or the high wind storms. So I just want to throw that out there, just a piece of centering the climate in the backdrop of all the other news. Carry on.
I agree. It is ongoing. I'm thinking of Kim Stanley Robinson pretty much predicting that. And it's starting, it's not exact, of course, but it wasn't just a one-day event in Delhi. It's still like 48 degrees going up and down in that range, and it is killing people. And there were baseball-sized hailstones in Colorado yesterday. We will be experiencing this year, and it is terrifying. But back to the Republican Party and the situation we have, in which it's a pick your crime situation with Donald Trump. How did they get so enthusiastic about criminality? They've been getting away with too much for too long, basically, but it's become part of their brand. I see it in the memes that are being put out saying, oh, well, now Trump is an outlaw. So like, the hero outlaws in the cinema with a cowboy hat on. Nixon has to take some of the blame for that. And I'm not talking about just Nixon when he was impeached. I'm talking about way back in 1959 when Cuba fell to Castro, and Nixon was Eisenhower's vice president, and he expected to win over Kennedy. And when Kennedy won, Tricky Dick secretly kept a major Eisenhower project going with the CIA. It was the Bay of Pigs project, Playa Quiron, to anyone in the South. It was a massive military project that trained hundreds of Cuban exiles on U.S. equipment. We're talking tanks, armored personnel carriers, Navy boats, and even B-17 bombers, which have been painted to look like Cuban bombers. That was around Opalaca Air Force Base and other locations in Florida when the CIA launched the invasion of Cuba in 1961. And when I say that, I realize that most people don't realize the CIA is a secret war agency. They're not just secret police. By funding and by the amount of energy they put into things, and by personnel, they are a secret war agency and have been for a long time. Anyway, Kennedy was still largely unaware of the size and scope of it. If you can imagine the president being caught by surprise, something like this. So the CIA launched the invasion. Their boys went to Playa Girón and just started getting slaughtered because, Fidel had guessed that was where he would be invaded. And he did a brilliant campaign against them and pushed them back into the sea. The ones that weren't killed were taken prisoner. And the CIA, as it was going on, was going to Kennedy saying, oh, well, you may not like this, but it's going on and we need the air support or we'll lose the war. And Kennedy was just like, fuck you. You didn't tell me. I'm not going along with this. And refused to provide air support. And they hated him. They hated him so much for that. It's all in the record now, and probably contributed to their assassination of him. Nixon was pissed off. And Nixon was in on the assassination, if there's anything to the words of H.R. Haldeman. But anyway, the point I'm making is Nixon always had that elitist opinion that he and the Pentagon and the secret police agencies were rightfully in charge, and the people of the United States are here to be manipulated. So when he ran for office in 1968, he didn't want to take chances on just, Democratic approval. So he had Anna Chennault and Rosemary Woods get word to the South Vietnamese President Nguyen Van Thieu that the Republicans would make it worth their while to delay negotiations with the Soviets to end the Vietnam War. They were close to ending the Vietnam War in 1968 until Nixon's people intervened. Johnson and Humphrey knew but didn't have the details. They let it slide. Never let Republicans slide. The Southern strategy, pulling Democrat-aligned racists into the Republican Party, wasn't entirely a coincidence either. Nixon hated blacks and said so. So the attitude the Republicans increasingly took over ensuing elections was that anything goes, and they got a good start back then. The fish rots from the head down. This is where I remind you of Ollie North and Reagan's deal with the Ayatollah to hold the American hostages in Tehran until Reagan won the election. Reagan's team took money from Salvadoran death squad families to boost his election coffers. His vice president, H.W. Bush, had been director of the CIA. He was appointed by Ford. And when Bush wanted to invade Panama and Iraq, he had his spook buddies come up with scary stories and those altered spy plane photographs that they put on TV, and it looks like it's the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. So he pushed his wars through, and the idea, aside from oil profits, was to get himself reelected as a successful war president. And to his astonishment, it didn't work. He did give us Clarence Thomas, though. And Clarence came in handy when it was time for the Supreme Court to kick President Gore to the curb. By stopping the voting in Florida, Gore decided to let it slide. Never let Republicans slide. When Georgie...
Seems like a common refrain.
Yes. When Georgie Little Boots was thusly thrust into power, he had Nixon staffer Richard Cheney III to actually run things, and Rumsfeld too. Richard Cheney and Rumsfeld used to be called the gruesome twosome under the Nixon administration. And that was a good thing for Georgie, since the detonations in downtown New York and the missiles that hit the Pentagon were tricky things to arrange. And Dick and his old pal and former boss Rumsfeld were old hands. And they managed to pull it off. So when professional dog whistle racist Donald Trump was feeling up his daughter on the stage at the Republican National Convention, the attitude of the Republican Party power brokers that anything goes and denial is the way to go and racism is the way to win, that was well established. And knowing these things, it was as amazing and gratifying to me yesterday when a jury convicted rapist Donald Trump on all 34 counts as it was when Nixon got on the plane. And I'm hoping it has similar results. The Republican Party took a gigantic hit after that and just could not get on its feet. And, you know what I'm going to say? Don't let Republicans slide.
Indeed. And we are hearing that, again, his followers are hopping mad that they're just waiting for the word of him to say, hey, go and attack. It's time for the war. And I do believe that there is a small swath of the cult 45 people that would be willing to do that. They're making a lot of noise about it right now. And I'm going to say that noise is intentional, and it's meant to back off anyone seeking actual justice. It's meant to back off anyone who wants to hold the rich and powerful accountable, especially Trump. I don't know why he believes, that he deserves this demigod status, but here we are. And so we definitely see the machinations of the farthest right, the furthest, how do we say, the most angry,
yeah.
yes, the most reactionary of the followers getting themselves whipped into a frenzy. So it's an interesting time.
It is that. I was just thinking of something else to say about it, but I guess it'll come to me later. But it's definitely time to celebrate. And don't be intimidated by Republicans who say they're going to get you.
Yeah, don't be intimidated. And I guess
I think celebrations are actually kind of important because of the intimidation. We should be loud and proud and say, we're glad that the justice system works. We're sad that anyone ever considered a criminal like that for president.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and back announce maybe just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm Ani, that's Theresa.
Hello.
And we are together. This is now Bridge to a Better World.
And that's the octopus. I just realized.
Yeah, we have the octopus behind us.
Does it have a name?
No. We've switched venues.
Anonymous.
In hopes of having a stronger signal. And so please let us know how that's working. Also, if you have not yet liked this video, please do hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. We're always trying to grow the community here on Friday mornings, where we come to you live for this stretch of time, catching us up on sort of news and events of the day and the zeitgeist around them. And I think this is where perhaps we pivot now to the community. I'm going to go ahead and I never know what to call this section of the show. It's where I start talking, about energy and stuff. So it's not just enough to listen to the news and to be informed and to take right action, but in fact to take care of yourself and to take care of your community. And well, I'm a witch and I'm a priestess, and this is what I do. Talking about caring for our community together. So I'm just going to move this. We have sort of this new setup, but it's not. It's a little weird. I'm just going to say it's a little weird. I don't want to be like that much bigger than Theresa. We'll get used to this. Right. So what I was going to mention is, in the face of the threats and in the face of people saying, yeah, I'm righteously pissed that this great con man has actually been called to account and found guilty by a jury of his peers 34 times.
That hit him hard.
By a unanimous guilt vote, that 34 felonies, that, we're going to be pushed to do some extreme things. And I get it. Fear is heightened right now. A lot of folks are feeling quite fearful. I'm going to say that actually includes the Cult 45 followers. They're fearful. That's why they're behaving that way in the first place. But I know that many of us are also, fearful. That we're not sure, if we should go to large gatherings. We're not sure if we should do any of a number of things. I'm going to say, yeah, we need to pay attention, but we cannot live in fear.
Yeah, just as the French responded to the fundamentalist attacks by going out to the cafes, we should do the same. We should show that we're not afraid.
And so reminding folks to stay grounded when we start feeling fearful. It's important to, as the kids say these days, go touch grass. It's important to stop doom scrolling every now and again. Look up and actually go outside if you can. Actually be amongst some trees. Trees are really good to reground and recenter a person, because they expire, right? They're giving us air, literally. They give us life, and it's an important thing to be able to stay grounded and centered in times of chaos, whether the chaos is brought on by holding criminals accountable or their followers getting big mad about that, or whether that chaos is brought on by storms, landslides, earthquakes, and other climate chaos factors. Wherever that fear is coming from, make sure that you're taking some time to ground it out. If we start letting our lives be ruled by fear, we've become very reactionary. We forget about loving because fear is actually, I'm going to say, the absence of love. It's fear is the absence of connection. And so, how to fight fear? We stay grounded. We stay connected to each other, and we reach out with compassion to each other to make sure that we're doing okay, and uh, to help each other down the road. Right? I think it's Baba Ram Dass, who said, "We're all just here to walk each other home." And I think that it's important to remember that that it's important to take care of ourselves, to ground ourselves, and then reach out and hold each other. Creating strong community is creating resilient community. And we need that resilience because we're in for some very interesting times. And I'm not even talking necessarily about the election, though God knows that's there too. I'm just talking about climate change. I'm just talking about the status quo in the Northwest right now, as there's that underlying tension between reactionaries and the people that are trying to move towards that better world. Um, so we have a lot to consider, but let us consider it with each other, building each other up and making a broad progressive movement stronger. I used to love a sticker that said, "It is time to overgrow the government," right? Put time into gardening, put time into community gardens, put time into making meals with friends, put time and energy into the things that will help us be resilient. That's what I have at this point. We are in the waning moon. Each day, the moon grows smaller and smaller until we get to the 6th of June when the moon is new. And then we start a cycle, a lunation all over again. I am going to be starting a new moon group. It'll meet by Zoom every new moon, starting in probably about a month from now, maybe starting with the July moon. And I'll put out more information about that both on this YouTube channel and on all my social media bits and pieces. So, for folks that are interested in sort of developing the cycles in their lives to align with the cycles of the moon, it's a great energetic sort of boost for the stuff that you are doing. Now, to pivot from the lunations, so what does it mean to be in the waning time? It means this is a great time to cut out things you don't need, to look at how you're spending energy, and to cut out stuff that is not really refilling your energy. To look at cutting out the excess and letting go of that which is no longer serving you. So that's a good time to do it. We are in pretty much the last quarter of the moon phase. So do that all with gratitude. Thank the things for coming into your life in the first place, and now you can let them go. And here's what I have for tarot. It is, someday I'll get used to this whole backwards mirror thing. So we have the 10 of Swords inversed. We have the 4 of Pentacles inversed, and we have the 9 of Pentacles. What does this all mean? Well, probably things have sort of confirms, really. Things have been hairy and scary. The 10 of Swords says that, things may be looking damn bleak. That we have, in fact, gotten to a point of some great discomfort. We've seen clearly things that we do not want, but we know that this is where it is. We just need to accept it. And the more that we can just sort of accept that this is where we are, and face it dead on, the more we can start moving past it. And in fact, I'm going to say this relates pretty directly to the cards last week, which spoke of hardship, which spoke of fear. It is time to start letting it go. It's not serving us anymore. Fear is a great alarm bell. It's a great alarm bell saying that things are not working. But then we have to really ground, literally touch grass, literally remember to fill our whole beings with love. That love is the strongest force in the universe. And we can start moving on. We don't need to hold things in tight control. We can, we don't need to hold things in tight control. We know that we will have enough. We don't need to have a death grip on our resources, be they emotional or material. We know that there is strength in sharing. We know that there is strength in allowing the fluidity of sharing resources, both emotionally and physically. We know that as we give, we receive, right? There is a flow. It's not a good time to try to hang on tightly, release the death grip. And then what we have is the 9 of Pentacles. And here we see that our diligence, our hard work, our care and attention of planting seeds and taking care and nourishing are paying off. And that we are, in fact, able to harvest a wonderful connections. We are growing wonderful connections. Harvesting sort of means they're coming to an end or something, but we are growing those wonderful connections with each other, and we can grow into them. We know that they are there. Patience and diligence pays off, and what we get is stronger selves, stronger connections, and stronger community. That's what I have.
All right, then. Well, I want to add that as I was thinking of the celebrations, one thing's for sure, Trump won't be able to run as the law and order candidate anymore. He'll get laughed out of the room as soon as he brings that up.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. The Law and Order Party have so many corruptive scandals at this point. It does kind of make the head explode. I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. Please leave comments below. If you're watching this in team replay after we stream, let us know your thoughts in the space below. Leave your comments. Let us know what you are most concerned about and you'd like to see us sort of digging on into, and that sort of thing. Thanks very much for being a part of our community. We look forward to talking with you every Friday morning.
Thanks for the comments.
And
our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea. So we bid you adieu. Yeah, let me get the
like and subscribe.
And all our airplanes in the air.
Cheerio.